Engineer Christopher T. Villaflor. So allow me to introduce our speaker. Engineer Christopher T. Villaflor is a professional electrical engineer, a highly qualified expert in facilities operation and energy management. He holds the prestigious title of ASEAN Chartered Professional Engineer and ASEAN Certified Energy Manager or AEMAS, alongside with a Six Sigma Black Belt certification. So, and serves as the IIEE Chairman for the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Committee. Let us all welcome joining us virtually. Let us all welcome Engineer Christopher T. Villaflor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Can you hear me good? Hello? Okay ba audio ko? Anyone here? Hello?
Yes, sir. Okay na po.
Okay ba? All right. So can you see my presentation slide?
Po, clear.
Okay. So, good morning. So, kala ko good afternoon na ako magpe-present pero thankfully umabot tayo sa umaga. And of course, very exciting yung mga naging initial topic natin. And now, we will be transitioning to energy efficiency and conservation. And we will be discussing energy conservation within the charging infrastructure. So, this is an expansion. So, from the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Committee, so initially we are mandated para to promote RA 11285, but we are now expanding outside RA 11285 or the EEC law. So now we will be going to e-mobility or focus related to the law on or the EBIDA law. Okay? So, why do we need to discuss this topic? Bakit nga sabi kanina, it's a very timely topic, sabi ni BP Jodax. Because actually, energy conservation now is the most important and even energy efficiency is the most important concern in a rapidly developing world. So, talagang nag-evolve na ang ating nag-evolve ang ating energy landscape. And talagang kailangan one of the most significant factor para ma-cope up natin yung evolving landscape is energy conservation and energy efficiency. Also, we are pressured now to reduce energy consumption. 'Di ba? Hindi naman tayo kasali sa gera pero naapektuhan tayo because we are really dependent on imported fuels. So kailangan natin ang implementation ng energy efficiency and conservation. And related to this topic, electrification is now a challenge for the unprecedented increase in demand and reliability. Magpo-pointer ako. Yan. Okay? So, before we start, let's go back to basics. So, let's understand energy efficiency and conservation. So, energy efficiency, yung original, pag tinag-usapan natin efficiency, just simply output over input. But, if we define energy efficiency, it's the goal to reduce the amount of energy required to provide products and services. Kung i-redefine natin yung formula in terms of energy efficiency, it is the useful energy output over the energy input. So, energy efficiency means using less energy, di ba? To perform the same task while maintaining performance and quality. In the simplest definition, energy efficiency is actually as simple as minimizing the waste or eliminating the waste. So, para hindi kayo malito. So, for energy practitioners, so you focus on waste and you will succeed on your management and your activities. Then, what is energy conservation? Energy conservation is the effort to reduce wasteful energy consumption by using fewer energy services. So, ito pertaining kung saan mo kinukuha yung energy mo. Papababain mo yon. Energy conservation reduces the need for energy service. So, basically, conservation, pag define natin, it's the process of reducing demand on limited supply and enabling that supply to begin to rebuild itself. So yung purpose talaga ng conservation is reduce natin yung kuha natin sa utility for us to enable yung supply na yun to begin to rebuild itself. Kasi nga hindi finite yung fuel, yung fossil fuel natin. And sa atin, sa bansa natin, we are really dependent on fossil fuel. So maybe not in our lifetime mauubos to, pero we have 'di ba, yung natural gas natin sa Malampaya for depletion na siya by the end of 2030s. So, ibig sabihin nauubos talaga to. And also, not in our lifetime na kahit itigil natin ang paggamit noon, we can begin to rebuild. We can rebuild it. 'Di ba? It will take millions of years bago natin ma-rebuild 'yon. And the best way of doing this is to replace the energy use with an alternative or an alternate and utilizing its waste. So, ito yung basic definition ng energy efficiency and conservation. But let us relate, 'di ba, dito sa e-mobility. So let's talk let's talk about energy efficiency on mobility. So punta muna tayo, energy efficiency ng internal combustion engine, 'di ba? An ICE car running, 'di ba? Of course, kailangan natin fuel. Fuel pa rin, and we will burn it and we will convert it to heat para magkaroon tayo para ma-convert natin to into kinetic energy or to mechanical energy. To make this car running from this point to this point, you need to have an input of 100% from the fuel, and actually to make the engine run, just to make the engine running, 33% napupunta na to as exhaust waste. Di ba? 24% sa cooling, sa radiator, iba pa yung sa tambucho, iba yung sa radiator. And to make the car running actually, meron pang friction and radiated heat loss of around 5%. In the end, di ba, an internal combustion engine, around 33% na lang ang efficiency niya to make it running. So, that's why we are having this kind of seminar, for us to have a paradigm shift. Na kasi right now, we are looking at costs. 'Di ba? Palagi tayo nasa savings. That's why we are in the energy practice hindi natin ginagamit yung word na savings, 'di ba? Kasi nga when we talk about savings, we're looking at cost lang. But if we are talking about efficiency, 'di ba? Punta na natin, sige. Compare na natin sa EVs. Ano ba yung mas cost effective? Of course, alam natin lahat ngayon EVs, 'di ba? So actually, by calculation, going back to the 60 pesos per liter, 60% to 70% cheaper talaga pag gumamit ka ng EV. But let's talk about efficiency, 'di ba? Kung efficiency ba ang pinag-uusapan, gaano ba ka-efficient ang isang EV compared to internal combustion engine car? Actually, EVs now could be 91% efficient. 'Di ba? So actually the ways are just coming from the conversion because we are using alternating current motors, yung inversion niya rather, and yung mga dissipated heat and some friction when it is running, 'di ba? So it's 91% efficient. 'Di ba? Even if we rely on public charging na right now nagre-range ng around 28 pesos to 35 pesos per kilowatt hour, it will still be 50% cheaper, 'di ba? But again, let's consider efficiency. So if you really want to have an efficient to make energy efficiency and conservation your way of life, 'di ba? Talk about efficiency, and that's what we are going to talk this afternoon. So, but sabi nga natin sa topic natin, energy conservation, why it matters, 'di ba? So, energy conservation reduces electricity consumption and utility costs. That's no-brainer. Yun naman talaga nagiging end result. Pero of course, it conserves natural resources because we will not be dependent more on fossil fuels, lower carbon emissions, it will be a clean energy, it improves energy security. Ito napakahalaga. Like yung binanggit ko kanina, 'di ba? Because of the war, naapektuhan tayo, wala naman tayong kinalaman sa war. Why? Because we are heavily dependent on imported fuels, 'di ba? Last 2023, 'di ba? Tumaas ang coal. tumaas ang coal, lahat naapektuhan, even yung merong contract with 100% renewable sa mga RES, sa mga RES natin, tumaas din yung WSM cost because we are heavily dependent on imported fuels. So, but with energy conservation, pag lumiit yung demand natin sa energy sa fossil fuel, so it will improve our energy security. It delays the need for additional power generation facilities. So, ito hindi natin nare-realize that energy conservation, energy efficiency activities, ito yung the quickest way to reduce or the quickest, the fastest, di ba? And the less costly way of reducing your energy consumption. Imagine, ilan ba tayo? Sabihin na natin, let's sa 100 na lang, 100 million population ng Pilipinas. If across the board, every citizen will have a reduction of 1 watt lang or 1 kilowatt 1 watt hour, di ba? So sa 100 million, 100 megawatt. That's one power plant. So really, actually, the target is for us to have 10 to 15% reduction on our demand because of energy efficiency sa plan ng Department of Energy. And that 15%, sabihin na natin 10% lang. 10% sa current demand natin, we can really have the existing power plant as a buffer, di ba? Maiiwasan din natin yung red alert o yellow alert, di ba? And of course, it supports sustainable development. That's why our target right now, the direction of the government right now, is not only to increase the capacity, but also to have clean energy. Okay? And very timely rin itong discussion na to because really sabi nga rin ni President Robert kanina, National President kanina, na we are in a rapidly evolving landscape. So talagang ang bilis. So maybe we will be thinking that we are a bit delayed, but we are catching up. So actually, we have really a rising energy demand. So the slide that I'll be sharing to you is the peak demand forecast of the Department of Energy. So for 2026, we are forecasting 20 gigawatt of demand. So the table below, makikita natin yung capacity. So around 30 gigawatt installed and dependable of 27 kilowatt. So we are okay basically with this data. Kaya lang ang problema, we have aging infrastructure. Yung mga nagtitrip ang problema natin. So that's one thing na kailangan natin i-resolve them. And going back to the chart, by 2040, magdodoble. 43 gigawatt. And by 2050, sa target natin sa Power Development Plan, we are expecting 68 gigawatt. So from 20 gigawatt or from 30 gigawatt capacity, are we ready? Even sa 2040, but at 40 gigawatt. So yun yung tanong natin, are we really ready? And again, energy efficiency and conservation activities will be significant. Okay? So another plan from the government, I will be sharing the Department of Energy Power Development Plan 2023 to 2050. At dito, i-share ko naman sa inyo yung sustainability part. That our government is targeting national renewable energy power generation mix of 35% by 2030 and 50% by 2040 up to 2050. We are bit sabi ko nga sa inyo kanina, medyo 'di ba, pag ang tingin natin sa development natin, medyo delayed, but we're really catching up. Right now, actually we're on the 32-33% na this year. So really we can catch up and ngayon talaga yung solar installation just end of April, I think around 128 megawatt ang na-online na infrastructure for solar for renewable energy. And not only focusing on renewable energy but also on clean energy. Sabi ko nga sa inyo kanina. So meron tayong plan na Clean Energy Scenario 1 and Clean Energy Scenario 2. So sa Clean Energy Scenario 1, the same for target for RE 50% share by 2050. However, we will be focusing on low offshore wind, around 19 gigawatt by 2050. And of course, ito yung hinihintay-hintay natin mga electrical practitioners, the nuclear technology. The target is 1.2 gigawatt by 2032, 2.4 by 2035, 4.8 gigawatt by 2050. So, and of course, ano gagawin natin doon sa mga coal power plant natin na almost 50% ang share? Di ba, ang contribution sa system natin, it will be repurposed. So, either it will be converted to another power plant with maybe with cleaner coal or with other fuel that is considered to be clean. Clean energy scenario 2 or the CES2, it will be the same target for renewable. However, more aggressive on low offshore wind, around 50 gigawatt forecasted by 2050. Nuclear and coal will be the same target. So makikita natin, di ba, that kasama to, di ba, yung plan na to, kung magkakatotoo, and I hope, di ba, and the government is really doing its part para matuloy tong requirement na to. Now, the problem is, ready nga, di ba, it's not just the supply, di ba? Kailangan din yung mismong buong ecosystem. How about the grid? Ready ba ang grid natin? So those are the things na dapat natin paghandaan tayong mga electrical practitioners. Okay? And some ano lang, isisingit ko lang, solar yung capacity addition natin over the past 5 years, yung solar natin talaga has driven most of the growth ng power capacity natin. And look at 2024 and 2025, talagang yung itong orange portion, solar, di ba? The renewable energy growth could outpace an official target. Target natin kanina pinakita 50%, we can project now 54%. For now, and it could go higher. Coal and gas utilization would fall to between 13% and 39%. And now we are more than 50% utilization. So we are on our way. Kaya lang, di ba? Especially for the renewable energy, the things that we need to consider, the grid readiness. Because renewable energy, especially solar power plants, are intermittent. Hindi natin hindi siya, yung efficiency niya is less than 20%. So pag kumulimlim lang, biglang babagsak ang supply nun sa grid. So we need to be ready. We need a smart grid for us to respond quickly on those situation. Did you know, ito, geothermal power plant, that our country is a member of the 1 gigawatt country club when we are talking about geothermal power. So we are third in the world following Indonesia and US. And by 2028, there will be additional capacities na ma-online sa grid natin. Okay? And of course, kanina binanggit natin nuclear technology. And ito maganda. It has a high energy density. Yung 1 uranium fuel pellet generates energy equivalent to 1 ton of coal, 149 gallons of oil, and 17,000 cubic feet of natural gas. Now, you see, when we talk about efficiency, hindi lang sa end use. Hindi lang tayong mga gumagamit, hindi lang tayong mga nagtitipid. Also, it starts from the supply. So, from the supply, not only that it's clean, it will not emit more carbon on the environment, but 'di ba? Efficient din siya in terms of sa fuel na ginagamit natin. Okay? And of course, related to our topic, because of our electrification. Electrification now is one of the significant or the main contributor of the evolving landscape ng energy natin. For the industry, before using natural gas, fuel oil, and coal, now almost electric process. So mga induction melting, infrared drying now is being electrified. Electricity na ginagamit instead of boilers, di ba? Heat from boilers using hot oil or steam. For buildings, natural gas, propane, fuel oil to heat pumps, induction cooktops. So, well, sa building or maybe residential, hindi pa masyadong sikat. Because when we talk about induction versus LPG, if we will be using LPG, it will an average of 3 hours per day cooking. Sa study, sa atin dito sa Meralco franchise, around uh, ang if we will be using electricity induction cooktop around 60 pesos per day compared to LPG of 9 pesos per day. However, again, I will go back to efficiency. Did you know that yung LPG natin, ang efficiency nun, 'di ba? To for the utilization of the heat para sa magluto tayo ng pagkain is only 50%. But induction cooktops is around 90%. So, ganun kataas yung difference nun. Just like kanina, di ba, nung kinumpare natin yung EV and internal combustion engine. Also, for heat pumps. Pero ngayon, it is becoming popular lalo na sa mga heating ng swimming pools. So now, popular na ang paggamit ng heat pumps. Before, we are using gas heaters and some are using electric pa nga. But heat pumps are actually very efficient. Actually for heat pumps, yung 1 watt na i-input mo na electricity, you can produce 300 watts of heat using heat pumps. So ganun ka-efficient yung using paggamit ng heat pumps. And of course, sa transportation sectors from internal combustion vehicles to EV or to electric vehicles. So nandito na tayo papunta ngayon. And with the current scenario, actually, di ba, we are always being blessed by crisis, di ba? Ng pandemic, ang daming blessings sa atin, kaya tayo merong mga virtual meetings ngayon, virtual technologies. And with the war sa Iran, di ba? Nag-increase yung ano natin yung hunger natin or appetite natin or yung information na gusto nating makuha with the EVs. So that's why we are having these discussions. So I would like to share to you yung EV market growth natin. So from 2023 of around 10,600 units sold or around 2.5% market share. Currently, the projected EV to be sold is 45,000 units or targeting 12% share. So actually, last year 2025 nag-start yung massive jump because of that BYD establishes the market dominance, so dito talaga biglang umangat. And this year nga, because of the fuel cost spark, di ba? So talagang tumaas yung fuel natin, kaya marami nagkaroon ng interest for EV. And looking here sa comment, nung 2019, we have only 214 units. So ganun kabilis yung evolution natin. Ganun kabilis yung requirement natin. Now, we are talking about EVs and this one requires electricity for charging. So, are we ready? Di ba? Yun ang tanong. Just look at 2026 to 2025. This is around 140% increase. So, maybe with this amount, kaya ng grid natin. Pero ang problema yung local. Yung local circuit natin. Kaya ba ng local circuit natin? Yung one transformer ba na nagsaserve sa community or sa magkakapit-bahay, kaya ba yung 148% increase? So that's what we need to be. That's one of the challenge that we need to face. Okay. So let's go now to electric mobility. So electric mobility refers to transportation powered by electric energy, cars, buses, bikes, scooters, trains, and more. Hindi lang to pinag-uusapan yung battery powered. So itong picture sa right, ito yung LRT natin. And LRT is the first fully electric light rail transit in Southeast Asia noong 1984. So we've been using e-mobility, 'di ba, since 1984 because of this LRT. Kaya lang, 'di ba, hindi natin nauna tayo pero nahuli rin tayo right now. Why? Because of politics, 'di ba? So that's why we don't need politics if we want to survive the demand of the evolution of energy. E-mobility is an ecosystem that enables the movement of people and goods using electrical powered transportation. We are not just talking about the vehicle pag pinag-usapan natin yung e-mobility. So its success depends on several interconnected components that work together to provide efficient, reliable, and sustainable transportation. So hindi lang, pag sinabi nating e-mobility, hindi lang to EV cars. So, and what are these components? So the core components na, I will be discussing the core components. Actually, the core components are the electric vehicles. So the EVs, of course, hindi pwedeng mawala. Pero kasama sa ecosystem, the charging infrastructure. Hindi natin pwedeng pag-usapan ng EV na hindi natin pinag-uusapan yung charging infrastructure, the battery storage system, and the electric power grid. And when we talk about the charging infrastructure in general, yung tatlo, charging infrastructure, battery storage system, and electric power grid ang pag-uusapan natin. And that's we will be discussing now. The charging infrastructure related to these three components. Okay? So, first, for the charging infrastructure or the chargers, di ba? So, currently, we can classify it into 3 levels. So, we have now available the level 1 chargers, which is with a power output and a voltage of 1.4 kilowatt to 3 kilowatt, voltage of 120 volts to 240. Charging speed per hour, 5 to 8 kilometers of range. So, pag pinag-usapan ng charging speed, kilometer of range, pag e-mobility, pag charging. So, ito usually yung mga plug-ins, yung sa mga standard outlets, and good for overnight charging or low daily driving. So, yung mga maliliit lang na or mga malalapit lang na driving routines natin. Another classification is the level 2 from 7 kilowatt to 22 kilowatt to 140 volts na usually higher voltage. Charging speed is 20 to 50 kilometers of range per hour of charging. It could be installed sa home, sa mga residential, sa dwelling units, sa mga work area natin, sa mga offices natin, malls and commercial areas. Requires a heavy duty outlet and professionally hand-wired. So, kaya walang duda eh. Ang EV dapat electrical practitioner. So, ito yung isa sa mga tinutulak natin sa IIE that EV should be considered as one of the field of electrical practice. So, dapat mapunta tayo dito. And try to look on the third level, yung DC fast chargers, yung DC-FC. 50 kilowatt to 300 peak, 50 kilowatt at around 400 volts to 800 volts. So, EV like solar are high voltage equipment. So, electrical practitioner talaga dapat ang humahawak nito. Sa charging speed niya, 100 to 160 plus kilometer of range. And we are not talking about per hour. Only to 20 to 30 minutes you can charge it right away. So, ito yung kulang sa atin. We need this kind of DC fast charger sa mga ating highways, mga commercial establishment. And it rapidly charges for long trips. Ito yung kailangan natin. And plugs usually, Type 2 or CS2 and NACS, yung Northern American Charging Standard na dinevelop ng Tesla. Because these are the fast charge plugs na tinatawag. Okay? These are the common charging infrastructure. But we are also talking about emerging technologies. Meron din charging infrastructure that we call wireless charging. So, walang kaibahan to sa pagcha-charge natin ng telepono, it uses electromagnetic induction. So, it could be static, yung mga nasa garage, and could be installed sa parking and sa roads. Habang tumatakbo tayo, dynamic charging. So, some smart cities, sinusubukan na nila, ini-start nito, di ba? And what is surprising, di ba, we are talking about wireless, baka mas mahina efficiency. Actually, the efficiency is around 92 to 94%. Di ba? Ang efficiency niya. So, it's a really good system. But the problem is, 'di ba? Napakamahal pa para mag-install nito. And I think it will not be practical, it will not be feasible, 'di ba? Dito sa Pilipinas especially hindi pa ganun kataas yung market ng EV. Maybe if we can reach the target of the government of 50% EVs in the roads as mandated by EV law rather, maybe we can consider this dynamic or the wireless charging. Now, when we talk about charging chargers, EV chargers, so there are some considerations na dapat natin maintindihan. Di ba? So as much as possible, we choose level 2 over level 1. Di ba? Because ito nagti-trickle charging tong level 1. So choose level 2 to minimize the time the car's electronics are active and drawing power. So level 2 chargers, generally yan, 5% to 10% more efficient than level 1 level 1 cables na ginagamit doon because yung vehicle mo you will run into di ba, shorter total duration ng charging niya. So the less time na nagcha-charge ka, the less energy waste kasi meron din energy waste yun because of heat, di ba? So the faster you charge, yun yung principle sa charging, the faster you charge, the less energy you waste. And also, talking about waste, choose smart chargers. Look for Energy Star certification. Itong logo na to. So, these chargers, they use up 40% less energy when in standby mode. So, yun yung problema yun yung problema nakita sa mga chargers. 'Di ba? Charger spends around 85% of their time idle, 'di ba? Pag hindi ka smart charger. So, it will keep idle consumption of around as low as mga 1 to 2 watts, 'di ba? Kaya niyang ibaba. And follow the 80 to 20 rule. Charge your car to 80% for daily driving. Kasi pag pinush natin yung battery to 100%, 'di ba? From 80%, magi-slow down significantly yung charging speed. And ipo-force nito yung BMS ng sasakyan mo to burn off energy as heat to prevent overcharging. So, kaya sa mga may EV na dyan, di ba, huwag nyo i-push the 100 dahil meron din consideration yan when you are using your, meron effect yan in relation with with the battery charger, the charger and the battery and the system of your EVs. Okay? So, that's the charging infrastructure or the chargers. So, now we go to battery storage systems. So now we are advancing beyond the lithium ion. So talagang ang sikat ngayon, lithium ion, lithium. So since 2000s, nagkaroon ng energy density jump because of the lithium ion, nagkaroon na tayo ng malalaking capacity battery and nagkaroon din ng advancement, nagkaroon ng mga liquid cooling, nagkaroon na ng mga battery management system, yung EVs natin. And 2020, current trends, by the 2020s, lumabas na yung mga lithium ion phosphate, yung higher safety, higher safety to, longer lifespan, and uses no cobalt or nickel. And it's really, really highly durable. So, ito na yung mga common trends, usual na ginagamit ngayon. And, meron pa rin yung lithium nickel manganese cobalt or yung lithium nickel cobalt aluminum, NMC, NCA. Pero ito, ginagamit to, it is highly energy dense, malaki ang capacity nito in terms of size. It is used in high performance EVs and sports car to maximize range and acceleration. So, kaya yung mga sports car na nilalabas, ang usual na battery nila is NMC and NCA. And the future, solid state. Ito yung sinasabi na holy grail of EV batteries. It increases the range, ultra-fast charging, and zero risk of thermal runaway due to fire. So, solid state, yung separator niya, in layman's explanation, yung separator ng battery mo, hindi na siya liquid. So, solid na yung ginagamit na element. So, which really increase the range and really charge fast. And of course, wala nang emission, and that's why yung risk ng fire mas mababa. And meron din emerging na sodium-ion batteries. So it eliminates the needs for expensive lithium. Kasi po ang lithium napakamahal talaga. Napakamahal pong i-produce niyan. So sodium-ion will be cheaper, more sustainable option, especially for entry-level EVs, yung mga maliliit natin. So kaya it's an option later on. And hindi lang sa type ng battery or hindi lang sa chemicals na ginagamit, even the some of the components like the anodes, the emerging technology is using silicon anode. It will be 20 to 40%. Imagine. So that's why we really need to understand these options or these technologies for us to consider. Hindi lang basta bibili tayo ng EV. Hindi lang basta we will go onto e-mobility. But we need to understand which is efficient, di ba? By understanding ano ba talaga yung mga ginagamit natin. Okay? And it's not just the type of battery, di ba, na gagamitin natin. Malaki rin ang kinalaman ng voltage. So, we have now the term 800 volts architecture, all the voltage architecture. So, these are batteries na around 600 to 900 volts. So, yung mga fast chargers natin, 400 volts yun. Yung mga lumalabas. So, that's for 300 to 500 volt batteries, yung mga capacity batteries. Up to yung mga charger na yan. So, pag 800 volts battery, so imagine it's almost 1 kilovolt. So, ngayon tanong ulit, di ba? Sino dapat ang practitioner dito? It should be a licensed electrical practitioner. So, ito yung dapat na, di ba? Ito yung expansion ng field natin. So, that's why we are really making sure na tayong mga electrical practitioner aware, di ba, sa mga technologies na to. Ano yung mga benefits or characteristic nito? Ultra fast charging. Pag kinumpare natin siya sa 400 volts, double, di ba? 400 volts lang, double the voltage, half the current with the same charging speed. So mas mababa yung current mo, di ba? If your charger can charge on a higher current, mas mabilis, di ba? Kasi nga half lang yung requirement mo. It can charge 10 to 80% of your battery in 18 to 20 minutes using the DC fast chargers. So, ganun kabilis, the higher the voltage. Better efficiency, lower the current, less resistive heat. And di ba, naintindihan nga natin that heat, di ba, palagi, pag merong unwanted heat, that is waste of energy. And because of low current again, lighter weight. Pag low current, thinner cables, smaller electronic components, and pag magaang yung sasakyan mo, yun yung target natin. Di ba? To lighten up yung vehicle natin to improve yung range natin. Di ba? The lesser the load, di ba? The lesser the consumption. And enhanced performance using high voltage, more power to electric motor. It could give us faster acceleration, higher torque, and stronger regenerative braking, which is very beneficial, di ba? Especially for example, if you're going Tagaytay, going back to Manila, pag di ba? Tawag doon, nag-glide ka lang bababa, hindi ka masyado nagsisilinyador. So, before you go back to Manila, halos nakapag-charge ka na ulit ng battery mo na mas mabilis because of higher voltage. So, this is one of the technology that we are expecting, di ba? And talagang this being developed, this is being used na sa ibang bansa, yung 800 volt architecture na EV batteries. Okay? So we talk about the charging system, the chargers and the battery storage system. Now we go to electric power grid. So ito yung hindi natin pinag-uusapan because really we are expecting many challenges. So hindi natin ito nakikita. So peak demand surges. Di ba? EV charging adds major spikes to residential and commercial power draws. So because, di ba, imagine mo, kung marami ang merong EV, lahat yan uuwi ng gabi, magcha-charge yan sabay-sabay, 'di ba? Plus gagamitin pa yung household appliances nila on the night time. So talagang magkakaroon tayo ng problema rito sa demand charges. Another challenge natin is local problem sa grid itself. Pero yung residential distribution transformer natin will be challenged by simultaneous EV charging. 'Di ba? Imagine mo kung yung isang transformer, yung residential, yung mga bahay na nakakabit sa kanya, for example, 80% nag-EV nagcha-charge sa gabi. 'Di ba? It could quadruple the standard power draw and increase system power losses. So magkakaproblema yung sirkitong 'yon. Kaya nga, 'di ba? Kaya nga, 'di ba, this one, meron ng Department Circular involving the distribution utilities, 'di ba, to look into, 'di ba, yung mga problemang ganito. Kasi nga like sa solar, 'di ba, installation, especially for net metering, 'di ba, merong mga impact study na kailangan gawin. So distribution utilities right now are preparing for the impact of the increase of EV charging. Frequency disturbances, unbalance, because we are using single phase, di ba? Sa residential, pwedeng magkaroon ng unbalance, high-speed charging can cause voltage drops and frequency fluctuation dun sa area natin. So, it's really, kung hindi tayo ready, we will be having more problem, di ba, than solutions. So, nabanggit ko nga kanina, may nilabas na circular, Department Circular noong 2020-2025, I think 008-0012, yung Charging Infrastructure Development Plan. So, dinidirect na yung mga DUs na i-integrate yung EV system, EV charging system, di ba, sa kanilang mga sari-sariling development plans. And mayroon pang clause doon, provision that pag nag-apply ka ng electric service kahit anong DU, if you will be installing a charging system, yung sa yung sa commercial, ang mandate doon, within 20 days kailangan i-issue yung electric service. So yun yung mandate do sa Department Circular. And of course, yung integration sa renewable energy. Okay? So, and the electric power grid, the e-mobility is advancing beyond transportation. Hindi lang transportation ang pinag-uusapan dito. Kaya ini-include natin yung power grid. So, kailangan ito, emerging technology is the smart charge management. So, this smart charge management dynamically adjusts the timing and speed of charging. It ensures EVs charge during off-peak hours like overnight when there is excess grid capacity. So, itong chart na to, just borrowed it dito sa website na to, sa US to. And you can see here, just to visualize, ito yung bar is the summer non-EV peak load, and this one is the spring non-EV peak load. Walang EV pa yan, ha. So, pag unmanaged yung home charging, the blue line, diba? Imagine, ang magiging scenario, isasabay yung charging natin sa peak load. So that's why smart charge management really it will be a very significant tool. And hopefully, 'di ba? Ito yung mangyari that we will be having a smart charge management. So i-manage niya kung kailan yung siya magcha-charge. Isasaksak mo pag-uwi mo, but it will be managed by the smart charger. Na hihintayin niya na bumaba yung peak ng grid natin, so for you to start up yung full charging ng sasakyan mo. So magbabalance yung natin, yung grid natin. Okay, yung demand natin rather. Okay? Another advancement is the vehicle to grid integration. So kanina nabanggit kanina nabanggit yung scenario na ni Engineer Purdy, yung scenario na yung EV mo pwede mong gawing backup battery. Actually, there is such a technology na nangiti nga kanina eh. And ito yung una, vehicle grid integration, the process or a system. Ito is a system, is a software of integrating EVs, software and hardware actually. integrating EVs into existing power grid infrastructure. So nakadirekto siya sa grid. It involves leveraging technologies, kasama na yung policies and strategies. It manages how EVs charge their batteries, adjusting the timing and power level of charging to avoid overloading the grid during busy times like rush hour when people get home from work and plug in. So, ang kaibahan nito kanina sa smart management, yung smart charging management, local yon. Pero ito, ang communication niya sa grid na. So, yung grid mismo ang nakikipag-communicate do sa charger para i-adjust niya yung timing and power level. So, hindi ibig sabihin nito na pag peak load, hindi ka magcha-charge. Actually, magcha-charge pa rin yon. Pero it will be using lower voltage kagad full power para i-charge yung requirement ng battery mo. Another advancement, yung vehicle to grid, V2G. So, ito yung sinasabi kanina. Di ba? Or rather, mamaya pa pala yun, V2H pala yun. It enables EVs to receive power from the grid to charge onboard batteries and as well as to send power information back to grid. So, ito yung equivalent ng solar net metering. So, if you are plugged in, then fully charged ka na, plinag in mo, pwede kang mag-supply sa grid. Actually, and of course, it will, net metering so babayaran ka ng grid. Di ba? If you will be sending power. This bidirectional flow lets EVs reserve energy to support the grid during peak demand and complement renewable energy generation. Okay? So, another advancement, ito yung kanina sinabi ko, vehicle to everything or V2X. V2G, vehicle to grid. V2H, vehicle to houses. And B2B to buildings and other energy consuming destinations. So, ito yung architecture niyan. A V2X charger could be connected to the home, buildings, and houses or directly connected to the grid. Yun yan, or the option. Pwedeng nakakabit parehas. So, tingnan natin yung pagkakaiba nito. For vehicle to home, ito yung technology. B2H extends yung B2G niya to homes, di ba? Sabi nga sa inyo. Allowing EVs to act as emergency power source. Ito yung purpose nito. Ito yung binanggit ni Engineer Perdi kanina. During outages. It could manage peak loads then, like a smart charging or the B2 BGI, and contribute to energy independence for residential users. So, especially pag naka off-grid ka, di ba? For example, sa mga probinsya, you can use your the battery of your EVs, for example, at nighttime, to power your homes. Diba? Ito, mas maganda to yung integration sa renewable energy sa mga off-grid. Vehicle to building or B2B. V2B takes the concept further. It enables EVs to integrate with commercial and industrial buildings. EVs become mobile power sources. So, supporting energy demand, peak shaving, and grid stability for larger infrastructure. So, sa B2H for emergency power, ito parang support, di ba? Mobile power source na another power plant na nakakabit sa infrastructure. Okay? And of course, kailangan natin i-consider yung sustainability. So, it's always good and it's always encouraged to go zero emission. So, sa DC Circular, minamandate din to na for public charging stations to be solar powered or renewable energy powered. So by 2028 sa infrastructure roadmap ng ating government, we are targeting around 7,300 public charging stations. And yung target natin 20,400 public stations by 2040 and the target is 100% renewable. So 2030 actually meron pang by 2030 around 25% renewable ang target natin. And just for your information, currently sa record around 1,600 EV charging stations lang na meron tayo currently. Okay? And of course, we need to discuss yung ecosystem challenges, di ba? Again, paulit-ulit ako, grid readiness, di ba? Because of the frequent outages, due to aging infrastructure trip-offs, di ba? Ready ba tayo talaga? And another thing that we need to consider is localized areas, particularly in suburban and provincial settings. It requires significant grid modernization and upgrades to support reliable and widespread EV charging. So kailangan natin talaga, 'di ba, yung upgrade ng ating grid. Charging infrastructure gaps, nakakonsentrate ngayon sa Metro Manila yung mga charging system. So, but the problem is, 'di ba, yung range anxiety, kaya hindi tayo makalayo because yung mga provinces unserved. So dapat ang target talaga natin mga main highways, expressways, 'di ba? Dapat yun nandun yung charging infrastructure natin. Island geography, ito yung naglilimit din, inter-island EV infrastructure planning natin. Medyo mahirap even sa grid modernization natin, ito yung problema natin. High upfront cost, even with important tax exemption, yung fiscal and fiscal incentive natin ng batas ng EBITDA law, mataas pa rin yung upfront cost, higher pa rin siya pag kinompare natin sa internal combustion vehicles. Okay? And of course, we have the EBITDA law. Ito yung Electric Vehicle Industry Development Act, EVIDA law. It aims to accelerate the adoption of electric vehicles and establish sustainable EV ecosystem in the Philippines through the following policies. So makikita natin, di ba? Even the law states na talagang kailangan natin yung buong ecosystem tignan natin. So, yung key policies nito, of course, the EV development industry, the EV industry development, kasama na yung promotion ng manufacturing, assembly, importation, and others. The national EV roadmap. So, or yung CREVI, the comprehensive roadmap of EV vehicle industry. Just take a look at it, i-google nyo or tignan nyo sa DOE website, nandito lahat ng roadmap natin. Charging infrastructure expansion. It encouraged the establishment of EV charging stations nationwide and set standards for safe and reliable charging system. Mandatory EV fleet adoption. Ito for government agency, certain public and private organization to allocate at least 5% of their vehicle fleets to electric vehicles. Actually, right now sa Energy Efficiency and Conservation Committee, we are revising the guidelines on energy conserving design ng buildings sa design natin sa electrical system, and sinama natin ulit doon yung 5% requirement across the board. Lahat ng design kailangan meron provision at least na 5% sa electrical system design nila for EV. Okay? So, incentives, ito alam na natin ito yung fiscal and non-fiscal incentives. Electrification for public transport, medyo may resistance dito because of the cost. Local manufacturing and job creation, ito maganda. Hopefully, di ba, magkaroon ng local production, technology transfer and workforce development, yung mga trainings. And isa to sa mga target ng IIEE, EECC, the committee, for us to expand, di ba, sa training na regarding EVs. Energy security and environment sustainability reduces dependence on imported fossil fuels. And of course, meron tayo, IIEE. That's why we are having this to promote energy efficiency programs, develop EV charging infrastructure standards. So, in collaboration with the standard committee, training of electrical engineers in emerging technologies, and encouraging renewable energy integration. So, actually, right now, electrical engineers are the forefront, di ba? Are in the forefront na ng EEC, ng Energy Efficiency and Conservation. And now, EVs, di ba, are electric. So, sa atin to. So, we need to be fully involved sa EV, sa e-mobility. Remember, it's not just about supplying power. It's about delivering power wisely, sustainably, and with minimal energy loss. So again, I will reiterate the tagline of our law, the RA 11285, make energy efficiency and conservation our way of life. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.
Ayan, and warm round of applause para sa ating chairman of the EECC Committee, Engineer Perry Villaflor. What an very clear and informative presentation indeed. So if you have questions po, kindly drop it in the chat box or dito sa ating Q&A box kung meron. Sa ating face-to-face participants po, meron po ba? Okay, mukhang clear naman po sa lahat and even sa ating virtual participants, sir, ay wala naman po tayo naging question so far. So allow us, sir, to acknowledge and present to you our certificate of recognition. Allow me to read the citations po. So this certificate of recognition is presented to Engineer Christopher T. Villaflor for imparting valuable insights as resource speaker on the topic energy conservation and electric conservation within the charging infrastructure during the 2026 technical seminar or Technical Summit held on June 27, 2026 at IIEE National Office. Signed by Engineer Frederick R. Calamlam, the National Secretary, Engineer Joseph Darren, Claire S. Solicar, National Vice President for Technical Affairs, and Engineer Robert Yumabulay, the National President. Thank you so much po once again, Engineer Perry Villaflor.
Thank you very much. Kung may question, message lang sa akin. No,
Yes, sir.
sa
Thank you
Messenger
so
ko.
much po.
Okay.
And of course,